The average person is said to spend 15 minutes in the bathroom. Why not take advantage of that time and learn something new? Presenting the 15-minute podcast on weird facts, crazy details, and funny particulars that you'll be able to enjoy while you're taking on your free time. Welcome to The Shit with Sam Butler. Bienvenidos a Está Cagado's podcast, episodio 1 en inglés, The Shit Podcast. That's right, we're doing it in English. Thank you guys for joining us. All my Spanish fans that speak English, this is for you. This is for all you people out there that are not aware of Está Cagado. Well, now it's in English, and I'm very pleased to kick this first episode off with my good friend and producer of the show, Mr. Eduardo Lolo Espinosa. Thank you for coming.
What's up? This is English.
English. Finally, we get to see you in English. Everybody makes fun of y'all Spanish, but they don't know that you speak great English. So thank you for coming here. This is also a good way for me to redeem myself because that first episode in Spanish, they're like, man, this guy doesn't speak Spanish.
Well, it's not your first language. Like they're judging you off of something that they can't do, like which is speak multiple languages.
But I'm happy to do it in Spanish, and I'm very happy to work hard at my Spanish, I guess you could say. I work really hard at trying to be better, faster.
Because if they think right now your Spanish is, it's good. It has its little, details that can be worked on. It's because they didn't meet you when I did.
Oh, I know.
When it was broken.
That first episode I did with you guys, that when you guys invited me on the set and I interviewed for that late night show that we were doing, and I did the stand up. I look at that video and I cringe and I go, "Oh my god!" But I did invest. I invested about a year of my time going to Mexico City to just improve my Spanish for stand up comedy, because you're also a stand up comedian. For all you guys that don't know, he actually produces another 3. How many podcasts do you produce? 3?
I don't know.
4?
Probably right now it's about 97.
97 podcasts. No, but you guys are doing great.
Whenever the groundhog comes out and sees its own shadow, I make another podcast.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Hey, that's why when I asked you if you would produce my podcast and you said yes, I was like shocked. Like I was like, really, dude? You have that much time in your life?
Well, this is what I do now. This is my work. So
that's awesome, man. I appreciate you guys taking me on. And I say you guys because if you don't know, this is for all the new Spanish, the English-speaking people that might be tuning into this podcast. They have the one of the most successful podcasts in Mexico and all Latin America. They have the second or third most successful podcast in all Latin America. They're part
like the fifth
at this point.
But we're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there.
They're part of All Things Comedy Network.
Yep. We're the
first.
We were the first and second Spanish language podcast in All Things Comedy.
So that's amazing. That's a very huge deal. And now you have a third podcast you're producing that's is pretty much what became of them.
Yeah, where are they now?
Where are they now?
Yep.
Yeah, and then now my podcast, which is The Shit Podcast, which of course, if you listen to the intro, is a quick podcast that we talk about interesting facts, weird facts, things that you may not know, things that fascinate me personally. I wanted to share them with you because I think we always learn.
Yeah.
There's so many things to learn about, and learning is a lifelong endeavor, whether you go to school or not. I have a friend back in El Paso that says you always pay for your education. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you go to school, he's not talking about school. He's talking about paying for your education. And, I was a contractor back in the day. I still do contracting, but we were like a full-blown contractor back in the day. And there was so many times we paid for things that we didn't. We made mistakes, and that cost us more than if I had gone to college. So it's one of those things that you always pay for education. So this is like a little quick 15-minute mini podcast that'll help you guys. Hopefully you enjoy it, and I picked a topic today that I thought you would enjoy, being that you are the tech guy on all these podcasts and the producer. You did the intro, which I love, the intro to this podcast, so I appreciate that. And this particular podcast is going to talk about a particular gentleman named Ernest Glenn Weaver, or Weaver. That's how you spell it, Wever, Wever.
Okay.
He was born in 1902. He graduated from Harvard as an experimental psychologist, right? He got a master's and a doctorate 1924 and 1926.
What is an experimental psychologist?
That's what I thought. Like, what is an experimental? I mean, first thing you think is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right?
Yeah.
Like you're thinking this guy,
Nurse Ratched.
Yeah, Nurse Ratched. That's what you're thinking. But no, this guy was actually he was part of and you know he went to he was at it just skipped my mind. The university over in California, the
UCLA?
Berkeley.
Oh, Berkeley. Okay.
He was at Berkeley for about a year after he graduated got his doctorates, and then he was at Berkeley. So I guess as Dr. Weaver, that would be the right term.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Weaver was at Berkeley for about a year, and then he went and he became part of the staff at Princeton in New Jersey, and he stayed there the rest of his career. He met up with a guy named Charles Bray, who's also an experimental psychologist, and together they were like the leyendas legendarias of their time. You know, right. They were legends, you know. What they did is they studied how sound affects hearing, or how hearing is affected by sound.
Okay.
So they became like these guys that studied sound. And they discovered that sound obviously travels in waves, right? And it can travel through any medium pretty much. It can be in a gaseous form, in a liquid form, in air. For example, we as humans live on the earth. We hear through the air.
Yes.
If we were a fish, we hear through the water.
Yeah, that's how whale calls work.
That's
whale
right.
songs.
So they can hear they feel pretty much sound. And so they were experimenting. The first early years of this guy's career, they would go to mines and they would try and find bats that they could because they wanted to understand how bats use sonar.
Yeah, the echolocation.
You know, and they're trying to. So this guy spent years getting bat specimens. It's like a Batman movie, I guess. You know, it's like something's gonna go wrong here in a minute. You know,
they could try to eat one and then start a pandemic.
Yeah, I know. Give me a break. You know, so the whole point of this was that he was trying to figure out how exactly we hear.
Okay. Yeah.
Now the shit part of this whole ordeal is what they did, like 1930. They took a cat. They put the cat to sleep. They opened up the cat's cranium. They attached an electrode to the cochlear nerve. They energized it, and then they ran a wire about 50 feet. They took the wire into a soundproof room, connected it to a telephone handset. One of them spoke into the cat's ear just like this, and the other guy could hear him on the handset in the other room.
So they made a telephone out of a cat.
They made a cat phone. You know, a cat telephone.
I've heard about the cups and the string, but
no, seriously, no. And this was like using electricity.
Oh shit! Okay.
And it was a shocking thing because it was like
if anybody is shocked here, it's probably the cat.
It was a cat. It was pretty.
It's like, dude, I'm taking a nap, and I wake up and I have.
There I was, just taking a nap. Next thing you know, I had a weirdest dream. They were whispering in my ear. You know, and so they're whispering in this cat's ear, and the guy could hear him in the other room, 50 feet away. You know, and it's pretty insane. Now, animal rights activists, I didn't know there was any in 1930 because they were still like beating up black people back then. You know, so I mean, I'm going like, really? There was animal rights activists in 19? Well, apparently there was.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. We still had a lot of bad shit going on, and people were still worried about animals. That's interesting, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's because it's probably easier to
care for animals.
Yeah, like it's like you feel like you're doing something good, and it's not as intense as
maybe
fighting for civil rights.
Maybe because I put this question up on Facebook one time. I was like, if you saw an old person or an animal about to be run over, who would you save?
I'll just go along and
you just ignore them both and let them die. No, I would save the old person, you know. But I was shocked at how many people said the animal.
Don't save the animal.
The dog. I'll save the dog. And I was shocked. I was like, really, you'd save a dog? If you had to save, if you could save an old person or a dog.
What if the dog was a rapist? You don't ever know. You never know.
You never know. Well, I just thought about the old person being like your grandma, your grandpa, somebody's grandma, somebody's grandpa. You know. I would definitely. I feel like human life is way more valuable than that of an animal. Although I'm an animal lover. Don't get mad at me. I do have dog. I have a dog. I love it. I love her. Buttercup, shout out to you. But it's one of those things that I understand the difference between human life and an animal life. Well, this research led to what we now know as cochlear implants.
Oh, all right.
Right?
It's pretty cool.
So they restored, although this cat had a massive headache when this was over. They were actually...
Massive headache and a hell of a story.
You didn't have to drink or anything to get it done, you know what I'm saying? But because of this, now a lot of people have their hearing restored.
That's pretty cool.
And they didn't directly invent the cochlear implant.
But the research led to that.
But the research led to that.
Eventually.
And they actually won some of the most prestigious awards for their research in this, because they did the study of sound and how it affects the human tissue or animal tissue and how it's transmitted. That research has now led to a lot of great things. So Ernest Glenn Weaver, awesome dude.
If you're hearing this,
if you're hearing this,
you did a good job.
Yeah,
and it's probably weird because you might be dead already.
Yeah. No, I mean, he passed away. He was born 1902. He'd have to be like 118 years old at this point.
Hey, it happens.
I don't know. Is there anybody? I see stuff online all the time.
Like 110, 100. I don't know. Just very, very old people.
Yeah.
Very, very old people that might wander in front of a moving car next to a dog.
Yeah. He was dead in life 25 years ago.
All right, so the way they did it, it's just one of those experiments that I think, how do you come up with that? Like, what makes you think, all right, I'll just run a wire through this cat?
Yeah, what shocks me about this whole idea is that it worked. Right? Like, how do you connect human tissue to electronics?
Well, there's a lot of...
I get it now with like heart transplants and stuff like that, but how do you connect it to, it's weird how the electronics actually can make this stuff function.
Just go to the store and buy a human
Radio Shack.
electricity adapter.
Too bad Radio Shack's out of business. Forget you, Viagra. I got Radio Shack.
Yeah, the whole nervous system works on electric impulses. So
that's crazy.
Because that's how they get people now that are amputees. Like they put these
electrodes,
the prosthetics on them, and then with electrodes and everything, they can just think about.
That's insane.
Yeah, and now we know how to interpret that into a signal that can be transmitted into a robotic arm, and the arm will move by itself. And
that's awesome. It's pretty cool. To me, that's kind of an unsung hero right there. I don't think they get enough credit.
I don't think the cat gets enough credit.
I don't think the cat gets enough credit. Sacrificed his life, one of his 9 lives, for this whole thing, but. I just think, someone that goes through all the trouble. Obviously it was his passion. It was his degree. It was what they studied. But experimental psychologists, they're not just nut house guys. They're actually out there trying to figure stuff out, how stuff works. So that's what this pretty much is all. This is what this episode of this podcast is all about. Was about a telephone cat.
Telephone cat. That's, I don't know. Cats now are notorious for just dropping your phone out of the table.
Yeah. Well, remember I don't know if you're old enough or not, but remember when RoboCop came out? You probably watched it.
I watched it when I was
later in life.
Later, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was a kid when that movie came out, and how they took a half dead person and then wired them up and stuff like that. I guess it's not so unrealistic.
No, it's not. You can do stuff like that now, and I don't know if they'll probably do it first with a cat.
How about that Futurama cartoon? Is it Futurama?
Yeah.
Where they just had the heads and then the robotic bodies.
Yeah, you have the heads in a jar.
That's crazy. To think about, who knows what the possibilities are. It's pretty fascinating.
And sometimes you realize that things that you think are relatively new. Like I assumed that all this research and cochlear implants and that was the thing of like the 70s, 80s. This is almost 100 years ago. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Actually, it was about
90 years ago.
90 years ago. So 90 years ago, they were talking into a cat's ear and could hear him on the other side of a speaker, on a speaker.
That's pretty cool.
So it's pretty awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us on this first episode of Cagado in English, the shit podcast. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey. This is awesome. This is we're not doing stand up, so there's a lot more free time that we didn't have before, and I'm really enjoying the whole process. You know, we have our studio here that looks like my living room. Literally, when we put the studio together, people are like, "Is that in your house?" You know, it's all my furniture. So yeah, it's in my house. You know, but
it kind of is.
It kind of is, but the whole feel and everything is
home is where I left my furniture. That's how the saying goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was thinking. Like, it's where home is where the heart is. Yeah. But no, we wanted to feel as much as home as possible, so that we can be relaxed and talk like this and chew the fat and talk shit and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you being on the producing it, first of all, and being on it. And if you want to follow, some people want to follow you, where can they follow you?
People can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. You can find me as Ningun Eduardo. So that's Ningun Eduardo. I'm not going to spell my name. You can Google it.
Eduardo. Yeah, or you can probably find them off this post. You know, you'll see when we post this up on the page. You guys, I know most of you guys will probably already be his friend. You know, I mean, who am I kidding? You guys are becoming my friend because of him. So I appreciate that. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram personally as Tu Amigo Sam. You can find this podcast on Está Cagado Podcast on Instagram. And you can also find our YouTube is Tu Amigo Sam. So tune in. Spotify, we're on Spotify as well.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that stuff.
Now, will this be the shit podcast, or will this be Está Cagado Podcast in Inglés on the Spotify thing? I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
We'll let you guys know. Thank you for tuning in. That was our show for today. Thank you.